All right, Tara, we're live.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm so excited that we did this because Philip is out. Congratulations to them. They just had a baby, him and Tilly.
Baby.
And Philip is usually the guy behind the scenes getting all this set up and then being part of this. So
Yeah.
since he can't be there, you're stuck with us.
I'm here.
And we have Tara, who is our art director. Tara, how long have you been here? I think.
8 years. Yeah.
Okay. So, man, 8 years.
I know.
So anyway, and you came from background at college. You could design
Yes,
for.
I worked for marketing communications at UAFS in
Yep.
Fort Smith prior to coming here. So been here for 8 years.
Yep, and you've worked on tons and tons of logo
Lots
projects.
of logos. Logos are my favorite. Branding is super important. So
yeah, branding is huge. I think it's one thing that sometimes people overlook. We see a cycle where when you start up, sometimes people just throw a logo out there and they get going, and then they realize, okay, here's who we are, here's what we want to be, and sometimes they'll adjust that way, and then sometimes those logos just get stuck.
Yeah.
And never make progress. Well, when you start to build your brand, it's so important to have something that your whole team is a part of and feels good about, but also that it's functional. And so when we start meeting with clients, we see a lot of these, and I'll try to loop Tara in as early in the process as possible so that we can lean on your expertise on how to make sure that these logos are functional, serve the businesses the best. Mm-hmm. And again, sometimes you can find them where they're on little logo builders, and that works for your site, mm-hmm. for you, okay, and that's just fine. But a lot of times you want something that's wearable that you can use on hats and shirts and signage and billboards, and all that stuff gets tricky.
And so the biggest part of branding is to own it yourself. This is your business. This is your brand. So you have to be happy with it first. Mm-hmm. Also has to be functional. But owning your brand is one of the biggest things.
Yeah, and so when we talk about brand, logo would be a part of the brand.
Yes.
The brand extends to even how your employees answer the phone, how you treat people, your core values. Your brand is really a bunch of other things, but a lot of times people consider logo and branding almost the same thing, but they're really not. It's really a subset of the brand. So with that, let's get going on the fun no-nos.
So I have done this for a while, so I've seen a lot of bad logos, seen some good too, but today we're going to do kind of the extremes. So first off, I think that just legibility and mm-hmm. font choice is legibility is the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. If you're putting your name out there and your logo, then people need to be able to read it, obviously. Yeah. So over on this side, the left side, I have some options that are just pulled from Google of some things that I would recommend not to do. So this top one actually says the utility, which I had to look up what it read because I didn't know.
Yeah.
The bottom two, I still have no idea what those are.
Right.
The bottom left one is kind of a hand lettered, so I wanted to give an option that we did that is a better option. You can still do hand lettered fonts. It doesn't have to be a boring font that's already come up with or anything like that. You can make different mm-hmm. Adjustments to it, but overall needs to be legible.
At the end of the day, you can still read Dr. Berry's in that, where in the other one, I don't know if that's Aspen. I don't know what that is.
I'm not positive.
But I mean, I think that sometimes things, just because you can do it.
Right. Just because it's a font doesn't mean that that's a good choice.
Yeah.
And so also with fonts, another thing is choosing a font. Fonts have feelings. Is something that I say, because if you choose a font for your business that looks kind of like a kid drew it and there's these fun colors with it and everything, say you're an eye care clinic and you choose a font that has a very childlike tone to it, then automatically you're assumed that you are a pediatric, specialize in pediatric because of that, when that may not be the actual choice. So making sure that you choose a font that is legible and then sets the tone for your business.
Cool. So legibility and font choice is one thing that you can see that really goes wrong.
I'd say that's one of the most important. So next we have color. Mm-hmm. So on the left over here, you can see this font actually has what we call gradients in here.
Yeah.
And so there is several different colors in this. I think there's actually 10 11 if you count white as a color.
And colors are fun, so why is the problem
Yes.
that there's so many colors?
So think about whenever you're using your logo, how it will work if you were to cut it out of a piece of paper, a one color sheet of paper. And so will it still hold up if it's in one color? Because things like cut vinyl on maybe a sign or a window graphic, or if you're doing apparel and you want to embroidery this, thinking about the colors that you'll have for that is really important. Color is also important as far as different colors show different emotions.
Right.
And things. A lot of times you'll see red with emergency or something like that. Doesn't necessarily have to be, but just keeping that color consistent. Color is also something that differentiates you between other competitors in your market.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. So talk about that. If we were to start a logo project, how do we pivot according to competitors? Like, what do we do with that process?
So looking just at competitors' logos, you want to differentiate yourself with your logo, and color is a big way to do that. For instance, if there's several banks and you know that all banks are going to be at a certain event together, if you look across and all of their logos kind of blend together, if they're blues or if they're grays or different things like that, what is going to set your logo apart? And I think First Security owns teal in Arkansas. Like, they have done a fantastic job with color, because whenever you think teal, you think First Security. And so it's a different color and it sets them apart. I think they do a great job with it. Unity Health also does a great job. We did their logo several years back, and it has their navy and kind of the links and the different colors that play well off of each other, and kind of just tie that in. And it has the red in it. So if you're thinking if that's more medical, or blue is also a lot of times medical, but it just kind of sets that apart.
So you still want them to look like they're part of that vertical market.
Right.
Yeah.
It can't look too different, but you also don't want to blend in.
Right. Okay. So color is one way that people can make mistakes real quick. And I think actually that logo there looks pretty cool. Right. It's just when you get down to using it, you start to find out.
The usability of it is not great.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
All right. And so the next thing is trying to do too much. And so with these choices here over on the side, I can kind of hear a client coming in and saying, well, I wanted to have a hummingbird because that's my favorite bird, and then it's our 10-year anniversary, so let's put that in there as well. And then we do smoothies, and so it needs to have a piece of fruit, and there's just too many things. Yeah,
I think one thing that we really talk about is, what is your logo supposed to accomplish?
Right.
What can it accomplish?
It can accomplish everything.
Right.
It's not going to accomplish everything you want to do. And it also needs to be versatile enough that if you want to change something up, say you're a food business, and right now you do cookies and cakes, but later on you want to add in doing shakes or smoothies or something like that. You don't want your logo to be too specific that you can't do those things.
Yeah. So, I think that's a good point, because sometimes people just really get so specific, then they're going and changing their logo because they added a new service line.
Right, and you shouldn't have to do everything in one logo. This bottom one down here has different sports, and a lot of times people don't want to leave anything out, so they just continue to add to it, and then it gets a little bit crazy and too hard to read. So this over here on the right with optical on the bricks is a logo that is complex. It has a longhorn, because this is out of Fort Worth, so that's something that when they wanted to tie in locally. But it also has kind of the monocle on there, and it has this different style.
So this is one of my favorites, because it really stands out. Like, you're not going to see that anywhere.
When it stands out among other eye care clinics or different glasses shops or anything like that. So it's a different style. It's complex, but it's not over the top. And
so sometimes when you have something you really want it to stand out like that, it's a lot of times because maybe you have a little bit smaller budget, and you just need to make sure that your logo is making a really good impact. And so doing some things like that from time to time that are a little bit off the beaten path, give your logo a little bit more impact without having to pay a lot of money to, like, for instance, Nike's logo is one of the more simple ones you've ever seen.
Right.
And a lot of times businesses just have the text there, the most simple font. But guess what? They have pockets to pay to get that brand out. Sometimes when you don't, that's a good tip to make sure something's unique like that. So,
all right, so this next one I have up a little bit, versatility and usability. And Joyful Macarons, Joyful Baking Co. Is a logo that we did a few years ago. And I think Caitlin and Ben do a fantastic job at keeping their brand consistent and showing the versatility on everything that can be used on. So they have it on their trailer, they have it on packaging, they have it on apparel, their bags, different things. And so their logo stands up and holds up in those different instances, still being recognizable and just versatile enough to use on several different mediums.
It also makes me hungry when I see it, even though it doesn't have fruit in it. I'm like,
cute.
Man, I think I will. Yeah.
It embodies their personality, I think, and was something that we really wanted to do whenever we designed this logo. So I think they do a fantastic job with their marketing and carrying it out. So
yeah. I like that one. So that is, so we'll go through the ones we've gone through: legibility and font choice, color.
Trying to do too much.
Doing too much.
And this versatility and just usability, thinking about all the instances. Whenever you design your logo, think about everything you may want to put it on.
I mean, embroidery is one that's always a challenge.
Embroidery is tough because, especially if it's small on a small pocket print or something like that, or on hats, just if the stitching is going to show up.
Yep.
So, all right. And then last, here we have professionalism.
Yeah.
So your logo needs to look like your business. It needs to look legit. Whenever you see this, you want to think, yes, I trust them to do my business, whatever that may be. This Tree Doctor, I'm not exactly positive what Tree Doctor might be.
Yeah.
But it looks kind of like different things have been pulled from illustrations. And this Kate's Florist down here definitely looks like things have been pulled in. They still have the white boxes around it, and it's just the font kind of created maybe in paint or something like that. So it doesn't look like a legitimate business or professional. It's
a sign of investing in your logo. And really, if you don't invest in it, sometimes you may never really see the fruits of having a good logo if you don't ever have one, because people may not see that, and immediately they're just turned off and they say, I think I'll go. It
doesn't look like a business that's even a company. So
Awesome.
So on the contrary, we did Cersei Dental. So we wanted to show one that has a fun style. And we've also have a fun campaign that's kind of built around it with the jaw-dropping experience. But it's a logo that we did an update to here recently, probably a year, almost 2 years ago. But it has kind of the toothbrush that's in the D, and it kind of ties in that dental part, and it's fun, but it also looks legitimate and trustworthy and professional.
So one question I get a lot, Tara, is, and this logo is a good example of that, is you have what you call some people call it a logo mark, some people call it an icon, some people call it a little circle thing, just a logo itself, and the other stuff just text, when really it all plays a role. How do you decide whether to use a circle or an icon or just a text, and what are the pros and cons to doing that?
So it depends really on the business and how you normally use your logo or setting forward to use your logo. So having something like the SD, the icon there that can be moved around, it can be used as your social media icon. If Cersei Dental is a little bit of a longer name like that. So, and a lot of times I'll incorporate an icon or something differentiating it into the logo itself, similar to Joyful Macarons. It doesn't have an actual icon that's pulled out, but the O is kind of different, and it symbolizes something of the business.
Right, and this one's very horizontal in nature, but you could probably make some adjustments to it. It is.
We do have a vertical version of this that we use, so that's something that is always an option too. And I try to create different instances. You don't want a version that's too horizontal or one that's too vertical. So I'm going to try to get back to where you can see us here.
Yep, we're learning here on the fly. Oh, there we are. We're coming close.
We're coming.
One more.
There we
go. Yeah, we're back. So good job, Tara. I think those are great tips. I think one thing that's interesting is it's just if people decide to really invest in how much it means to a business going forward, like how many things it's going to be on. One thing we're going to try to do here is offer a logo discount for those that are interested. If you go to thinkis.com/contact, just give us your info. We'll reach back. Also, if you have a logo you would like us just to look at and give us some feedback, maybe you had one that you created yourself and you just want us to give some feedback, and maybe there's some small tweaks, we'd be happy to do that for you for free, and just to try to provide some insight, because we do want to help. We hope that these Facebook Lives are a benefit to you guys. You understand the importance of the logos and of them being done correctly. And anything else you got to add before we sign off?
I would say, especially for startup businesses, a lot of times it is a lot to invest, like we've talked about. But just coming up with something that you own and love, and just try to be all in.
Right. We had a client ask us just the other day, we really want your opinion, and we love to give our opinion.
Right.
But that's not always. We also want them to love their logo.
Yes, because it's not our business at the end of the day. You have to love it too. And so that's a very important part about a logo. And so, if you have any questions or would like feedback on your logo, again, please contact us through the contact form. We'd be happy to do that, provide some insight and some recommendations, and then you can choose to do whatever you'd like with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your attention, and thanks for just being on here and supporting us. And we look forward to seeing your business grow, and look forward to seeing your logos come in. So thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.